Peter here, aka Peter Freakout 10, bringing you guys an episode of the Movie Review Show, where the good movies are always reviewed. Okay, back into our movie review. Now, on today's episode, we're continuing down the line of Steven Seagal action extravaganza films with his next film. For those who don't know, a couple weeks ago I did a review on his film introduction into the world of action films, Above the Law. Now, technically it's not his, film debut or anything, but it's the film that really made a name for himself. Because when people saw that film with no idea of who Steven Seagal was, this was the film that made them say, wow, Steven Seagal is actually pretty cool. It's all thanks to that film. Now, I already talked about the film, so I won't waste too much time on it, but for those who don't know, Above the Law was a film made back in 1988, directed by Andrew Davis, who would later go on to direct the other Steven Seagal movie, Under Siege. And the plot of it followed him as a cop, basically trying to bring down these drug dealers who have a connection with the police. And it all becomes harder when he's kicked off the force and has to prove it all on his own with the help of Pam Grier. The movie was awesome. Steven Seagal did a really good job in the film. It had great action, a great supporting cast around him, from people like Pam Grier to Sharon Stone, among many others, all of which give fantastic performances. And when the action comes on, it really comes on. I will say, though, it's definitely more of kind of like a film with a message, whereas all of the other Seagal films are more about action. This one really has more of a message about criminals being in connections with the police. So it's definitely got that sort of thing going for it, but overall I still think it's a great film and a great start for Steven Seagal. So after the big hit of Above the Law, Steven Seagal was called in for 2 more movies in the same year, 2 years later, and the first one being the film this is when they started with this trend with him, where they would put the tagline and say stuff like, the star of whatever is back. Well, they did for a little bit, but they would do this trend also where they're like, Steven Seagal is. I always found that a little bit funny, but here, the star of Above the Law is back now. Can anybody guess what that film is? Steven Seagal is Hard to Kill. Heck yeah. Now, Hard to Kill was a film made back in, as I said, 1990. It's directed by a guy named Bruce Malmuth, who I don't know anything about. Oh yeah, I remember he did that. He directed Nighthawks with Sylvester Stallone. He had a small part in The Karate Kid as the announcer. He was in Karate Kid 2. He worked on a television show called Beauty and the Beast, which, believe me, looks more ugly than the animated one. Don't believe me? Look at this. Look at that ugly beast. Those are some terrible practical effects. Let me just get back, close out of that. Out. But anyway, yeah. This is one of the few known films that he's directed, because I doubt anybody has seen Nighthawks or, what is the other film he did? It was with Steve Guttenberg. I know I just saw it. He also directed Pentalhalon with Dolph Lundgren, which I haven't seen. He also did The Man Who Wasn't There with Steve Guttenberg. That's what it was. Jeffrey Tambor, Art Hindle, William Forsythe, Bruce Malmuth. How many? He also started it. But Hard to Kill. This is one. This was when he started coming into the big leagues and whatnot. As I said, with bigger actors and whatnot. And when the film came out, it's unknown what the budget is, but it seemed like a big hit. It seemed like a hit because Above the Law was a hit. I don't know if it was lower than Above the Law. The box office was 47.4 million. I don't know about Above the Law. We compare this to Above the Law. It beat Above the Law, so it seemed to do well for itself. Critical reception is at 33% on Rotten Tomatoes. Owen Gleiberman rated it D-, called Seagal as generic an actor as the film. In describing the film as a lively one for this genre, Mr. Seagal is effective for both his novelty value and his ability to be both literally and figuratively disarming. So, yeah. But it came in at #1. But this film seems to be getting a fan base, so that's something I gotta say. But for what that had to be said, for some of the hate that this film got, what do I have to say about it? I gotta say, this film is a marginal improvement over his last film, Above the Law. So far, I have to say, I don't want to say this is my favorite yet because I haven't seen his other ones, but so far, I definitely have to say that this is going on my top 10 favorites. I thought this was like a great film. Well, I should say this was like, that's a dumb thing to say, but I thought this was a fantastic film. And I dare say I like it better than Above the Law. Why? Because this is, to me, when we started to see Steven Seagal become more of the action star that he's known for, quite honestly. This is when, whereas the last one we saw a little bit of that in his acting abilities, this is really when we started to see him go more into the territory of what we knew him for, I should say, even though we know him for what he's doing now. This is when we started to see him become more of that action star that we saw a little bit of in Above the Law. He started to exploit that in this film. And I love that for this film, but I'll get into all that later. But anyway, the film stars, as I said, Steven Seagal. But you also have Kelly Lee Brock, who was in Mad Science. Of course, as you guys know, she was married to Steven Seagal, and their marriage ended pretty badly. And I know she talks hard about the film, calls it hard to watch because she didn't want to be a part of it, but Seagal talked her into it. Despite a lot of people know her for Weird Science, I know her mostly from like that animated David Copperfield movie she did with her, Julian Lennon, Sheena Easton. I like that film. I have it somewhere. Well, it's at the new house. Well, the one I'm downsizing to, but I like that film. I do a review on it for Christmas, but yeah, she's in this film too. Yeah, William Sadler here too. This is when he was calling himself Bill Sadler. I call him William though, but William Sadler, this is a guy I know from Demon Knight with Billy Zane. He was the hero in that film. He was in Die Hard 2. He was in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, among many others. Yeah, Frederick Coffin, among many others. But yeah, I really enjoyed this film. I thought this was a great film. Now, I don't know, I don't want to say it's my favorite, because from what I see out of his others, like the trailers or whatnot, I don't want to see too much of them, because I like to sit down and watch the film right before I actually look up anything, because it's always nice to be surprised. But from what I see to this film, I thought it was a great film. I'll get into all that later though, but anyway. The basic plot of the film is basically this. We meet this guy named Mason Storm, played by who else? Steven Seagal. And he's this cop in, I think, is it San Francisco? Los Angeles. I don't know where I was getting San Francisco from. But basically, basically he's on a stakeout spying on this gang member making a deal, and in like the stakeout there's like this senator, or a corrupt senator I call him, because you later find out he's a corrupt senator, played by William Sadler, named Vernon. And basically he gets wind that there's someone watching him and tracks him down. Later on you see him with his wife and whatnot turning in the evidence, and basically you see him with his wife later, and they track him to his house, and they kill his wife. His son gets away, though, but they kill him and his wife, and he's brought into the hospital where he's presumed dead. And basically, as time goes on, basically before time went on, basically we learn that he was alive this whole time. This cop there named... Oh, I think it's O'Malley? Yeah, O'Malley, played by Frederick Coffin, who was a friend of him, said, don't tell anybody and whatnot. But this entire time he's being cared for by this nurse named Andy, played by Kelly Lee Brock. And basically he wakes up and she agrees to help him get revenge on this senator. And basically now he's sending out this group of people to try and kill him, because if he exposes like what he did and the deal that he made with them, that'll ruin his senator campaign and whatnot. And so now he's pretty much bringing down the iron boot on these guys. So now pretty much Mason's out pretty much bringing hell upon this guy. Will Mason prove he's hard to kill and get revenge on this guy? Or will the bloodbath be the last blood he ever seen? And will the title of this movie be changed to Easy to Kill? That's the best I could do. But I have to say, I really, really enjoyed this film. And while I don't want to say it's my favorite, I definitely put it in the top 10. But I really like the story of it. Sure, it's like every cliched action revenge film, but overall, I think it was really, really well done. How it was handled in this film, I think, was really well done. And as I said, it's one of the few films that showed Seagal stepping out of like the message side that we saw in Above the Law, and really stepping into the action star that we would later see him in his later films. And I think he does a good job here. Bruce Malmuth, I think, did a good job directing the film. It's shot really well. You could tell it's a bigger budget from Above the Law, and it's definitely easy to see that. Some of the shots during the fight scenes, I think, are well done. And this film definitely ups the violence, which I'll get to. But overall, the story I thought was unique. How it's shot, I think, is really well done. It's really well written. So overall, while not too much to say about the story, because it's just every other typical revenge story, I still thought it was really, really well done. So, yeah. But the acting of the film is top-notch. Every single one of these actors, I think, do a great job, including William Sadler as the villain, but I'll get to him later. But Steven Seagal in this film, while his character was mostly talky, and while we saw a little bit of action Above the Law, this one, I think, really, really steps him into the zone that we know him for today. And I say that because while he has that talky side, you see him doing more action. And I think that was the right decision, because here, what we loved at Above the Law wasn't the fact that we just saw him doing this talking and whatnot and him making conversation. We want to see him do action. And I think that film accomplishes that perfectly. You see him doing his own stunts. I think he does them really well. And even when he does act, I think he did a pretty good job. I like the fact that with this film, while he is this tough guy, he does have a soft spot to him. And some of the stuff that he says in the film is really understandable. And you feel sorry for this guy. I like the scene with him, like in the beginning where you see him with his son doing that prayer and whatnot. I really like the soft side that Seagal gave him. I thought he did it really, really well in this film. So, yeah. Even when he does have to say a few one-liners and whatnot, he has some really funny ones. Like, I like the part at the end when he's tracking down Vernon and he's saying stuff like, "Oh, Vernon, Vernon, where are you? Are you in the closet? Are you under the bed? Not there." I thought that was funny. Or the part where he's attacked, in that same part, he grabs like a pool club and shoves it in the guy's throat, and he's like, "That's for my wife, now die." That scene was awesome. Steven Seagal, I think, does a great job. Again, this is the Seagal that I miss. I really wish this Seagal would come back. Seagal, get on that dang treadmill and lose that weight and be back to this guy. Yeah. Because here you actually play a likable character who has charisma. He has... While this one has a little bit of a message too, it's not exploited as much as Above the Law as it did it. It really kind of is there about corrupt senators and whatnot, and like how they're getting into like the department and whatnot. But still, or getting into the world, I should say, not getting into the department, making the world think that they're all perfect. It's really not as exploited in this film as much as it was with Above the Law. And I think it's Seagal's acting, whereas with the other one he was so talky and talking about the subject. Here, it's mostly him doing the action. I love the film for that. I think he does a good job here too. And Kelly LeBrock as Andy, I thought she did a good job. She's more of like the one who's there to say, "I'll support you, I'll be by your side," and whatnot. But for every little scene, I thought she was funny, sweet, and kind of cute. I do like the part where, I will say this was a cute part. I know Rambo Rap for Life, when he did a review on this film, he's like, "I would like this woman as my nurse." When Seagal's in a coma, basically, and she's has this cat with her, and she says, "Would you like some pussy?" and puts the cat on top of him. Like, that scene I thought was kind of funny, because I was like, is she really gonna do that? Wow. But Kelly LeBrock, I thought, did a good job in this film, and I think her and Seagal's chemistry really shines in this film, seeing as how they were dating. I mean, I will say, I definitely would have liked them to see the two fighting together, trying to basically bring down the senator and whatnot, but still, overall, I think she did it really well in this film. Kelly LeBrock, I thought, was fine. William Sadler, now one of the problems that I had with Above the Law was that the villain's motivation wasn't clear and whatnot. I felt it was a little too all over the place. Here, though, I think that William Sadler was a much better villain. I think he's a fun villain. He's quirky, he's crazy, he's cruel. Every time he's on screen, I have a smile to my face. William Sadler, I thought, was awesome in this film. Like the ending part where he's in that hot tub with that woman. He's like, "Get out of here," and whatnot. Or he always has like that tagline that he uses that Seagal recognized. "You can take that to the bank." So, yeah, William Sadler I thought was great in this film. Frederick Coffin, he's like this one guy who... He's basically playing the character that the old man in the other one played. He's basically playing the one who's like standing by him and trying to help him and whatnot. But it's not as... He's not shoved in there all of a sudden out of nowhere. His character feels more built up than the other character. And I think he did it really well in this film. I think it was really well done. I think the way they incorporated him into the story, I think, was really well done. So, and he was definitely a nice guy in a lot of parts. Like the one part in the beginning, like after he's been shot, this one guy's like making fun of him, and he grabs him and pushes him into the wall, and he's like, "That guy would never hurt anybody." And he does it really well. I definitely feel like this guy felt more of a presence more so than the other guy. So overall, I think Frederick Coffin did a good job, and so did a lot of the other actors. But as I said here, the action in this film is top notch. I already mentioned the part with the Cool Club, but the action in this film is really, I have to say, above the law. Get it? But still, definitely feels more brutal in this film. Some great set pieces, practical hand-to-hand combat. The stunt work, I think, is improved. It was really cool, like the fight scenes and whatnot. It's definitely not as bloody as Above the Law. It's not like you have a guy having his head chopped off like in that film. But for what we got, they were definitely violent. So overall, I thought this was a great film. Definitely an improvement over Above the Law, and it's definitely easy to see Seagal getting pushed forward with this film. So overall, definitely like this film. Now, does it have its problems? Yeah, I will say Kelly Lee Brock, I think, could have been better. I will say another thing that I did not like about the film is that the ending of the film just feels abrupt. It's in a lot of parts. Like, the film just stops at the end and basically doesn't go anywhere. Well, I should say, it doesn't go anywhere. The ending just stops, and you don't feel like anything is explained as the credits roll. I should say. I was gonna say after, but there's no end credit sequence after the end credits. After credits, or whatever you want to call them, but I don't feel nothing was explained, and I know they had an alternate ending. I don't know why they didn't keep that there. It was supposed to be a funeral for one of the characters, but I just didn't like that. But still, overall, Hard to Kill, I think, is a great movie. It's definitely an improvement over Above the Law, and definitely going in my top 10. And I'm definitely excited to see more of these Seagal films. Gonna pick up Marked for Death later, but yeah, definitely a great film. So if you liked Above the Law and you want to see more of Seagal in action, I recommend you check out Hard to Kill. It's a great movie. So overall, I give Hard to Kill a 9 out of 10, and it deserves it. It gets my seal of approval. Definitely a great movie. And it's definitely a fantastic action film. And I definitely think it's a great push forward for Seagal. So yeah. But that's my review for Hard to Kill. And next time I'm going to do a review on Video Game Time, Judge Dredd, Dredd vs. Death. Be on the lookout for that. And then I'm going to do a review on Hudson Hawk. And speaking of Bruce Willis, I also have a review of Last Boy Scout coming. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of Hard to Kill. And if Marked for Death will be any good. I want to know that because Marked for Death looks awesome. But yeah, be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.